I think I was a little naive getting sober too and thinking that, all of these bad decisions I've made are because of alcohol. And now I'm going to be this great person. Yeah. I still make fucking wildly terrible decisions sober. Ended up falling asleep at the wheel and crashing into a guardrail.
Oh gosh.
Um, and I got a DUI. So I mean, the alcohol was zero. It was zero level alcohol, but because of I was impaired, I got a DUI. So I had to go to jail.
And we are here with Sara at last. Hello.
Hi.
So you have been sober 14 years.
Yes.
Your story, as I understand it, has some ups and downs and some recent mishaps and mental illness struggles, a little dual diagnosis going on.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Well, take me back. Tell me the whole story.
Oh boy. Um, well, I started drinking when I was about 14. I remember it was for a school dance and it made the dance really, really fun. And that was sort of when I first started falling in love with alcohol. A boy touched my butt for the first time. And
Hell
I just
yeah.
thought, that was just amazing. That was thrilling. I wanted some more of that. So that's kind of how it started. I wasn't a huge drinker throughout high school though. I here and there, but it really got intense during college. Is when I really started binge drinking a lot. Um,
Where'd you go to college?
Eastern Michigan University.
Okay.
We went out every night of the week, uh, sometimes, and I still managed to get mostly A's somehow, but we drank a lot. Um, And probably I would say my alcoholism escalated the most after college is when I really started picking up speed and having a lot of one night stands. Um, sorry, mom, but having a lot of one night stands. Um, a lot of just bad decisions in general. That's when those really started to escalate. I would like go to the bar and hook up or not, and then come home and spend like $500 on Sephora, um, and just be surprised when it got there. Like, don't remember what I ordered. That was always fun. Um, I would sort of
Would you
encounter.
have no memory, or would you like wake up and see a confirmation of your order and then just put it out of your mind, or would you literally be getting packages and go, I have no recollection of ordering this?
Sometimes I did have an idea. I sort of vaguely remembered like putting in cart and um what I ordered, but sometimes I honestly didn't remember doing it at all. And it would just show up, and I'm like, oh my god, I've been wanting this perfume. Like that's so cool. And so I would do that a lot. Um, And then I would have sort of other forms of buyer's remorse, like when in the act of being amorous with a guy, I would start to sober up and like push him off and, get out of the car, be like, I don't want this anymore. So I had some times of pivotal decision making throughout that period, but most of the time I just was very fatalistic and just made overall really bad decisions, like, out of college. Um, and then I got pregnant, um, with, my first daughter. I'm married to her dad, Andy's daughter. That really changed everything. I mean, that really changed my entire life for the better. I obviously quit drinking, during the pregnancy, everything. So it made me really examine everything. But I picked it back up after she was born. I started drinking again. Um, and my life just went back downhill again. I made all kinds of even more worse decisions than before. Bad decisions for marriage, definitely. Um,
Cheating?
oh, yeah. Um, for sure. And I've been open about this with my kids. It's in my book, and I've been open with my kids about it too. Um, I mean, as a parent, I think in a sense you want to protect your kids from stuff like that, but I also want them to know that you can make horrible decisions and still get through them together. And we have. Um, we've gotten through so much, like things that I know have just destroyed other couples and grounds for divorce and stuff like that. But um, we've both hurt each other, really tremendously, but we've gotten through it together. And so I want my kids to know it is possible to get through that. Like a lot of couples, I think that's the end when that happens, but that's not necessarily true. So, yeah, that definitely happens. Um, and then I got sober. The actual uh last night I drank involved cheating with a couple of our friends, a married couple. It was just me and them. He wasn't there. So that was really my rock bottom where I never intended to hurt him any of the times I hurt him. I never set out like, I really just want to fuck around tonight and ruin my marriage. I would go out always with the intent of I just want to have fun. But there were no boundaries. Um, there was no restraint. It was a free for all. Anytime I went out, it started turning into like I would be blacked out every time. Um, it didn't matter. Like that last night I drank, I mean, I was blacked out for most of it. Like I know it happened, but I can tell you tiny increments, of what happened. Like I really I don't remember. So that was it for me. That was just it wasn't even I feel like a decision I kind of logically made. It almost made the decision itself. It was like bigger than I was. Um, yeah, I don't know if I want to say it was God, but it felt that way. Like this is just I have to change my life now.
Do you feel
So,
like, I mean, I'm assuming that had happened before, the
mhm.
cheating before. Had you gotten caught before? Was this different because you got like, what was different about this time?
Well, the thing is, I always told him about it, because I never wanted to do it. It sounds crazy, but I never set out to do it. I'm a very transparent person, as you can already tell. So I never wanted to deceive him. I never wanted to hurt him. It just seemed like it kept happening. And I didn't know why. I didn't want it to happen. I didn't set out for it to happen. Um,
Would he get
but I just
mad every
realized,
time, or was he like a pushover about it? Like, what? I'm wondering what made you feel like, well, no consequences are really happening.
um, he wasn't, I wouldn't say he was a pushover.
I didn't mean to sound like negative like
No,
that. I just
no, I
meant,
know.
was he that kind of person that would just be like super forgiving right away, and then it's like you don't feel scared that you're gonna do it again?
I mean, he has definitely always had some anger issues. So
Oh,
it, it, he didn't just sort of, forgive me like, oh, no biggie. It wasn't like that. But he knew how, I mean, I would be so distraught about it. I mean, I hated myself. I was like, I never wanted it to happen. Um, and, and I told him because that's the situation. I didn't want it to happen. So I would tell him about it. It wasn't like I was sneaking around and trying to hide it and trying to get away with something.
right.
Um, it was just it was ridiculous. I mean, I don't know why he stayed, to be honest. He just I mean, there are times that, we have gone through things and he's just like, I don't know why, but I just love you." And, he's just always wanted it to work, and he's messed up too. It's not just this isn't about him, but it's not just one-sided. We've both messed up. So, we're both very forgiving and, know that it's never been the intent to hurt each other. It's just shit has happened and we've dealt with it and gone through it and we've gotten better because of it and we get stronger through it. Um, but we've always been honest and upfront about it, when it's happened.
Okay, so you get sober. How do you get sober? What was the
Um,
first thing you did?
the first thing I did, I went to the doctor, because I didn't realize, I guess, my problem was as severe as it was. I was actually, like, having the shakes. I was not well physically, so I actually went to the doctor. They put me on, it was called Campral, and it's supposed to help initially with getting sober, so I got put on that. I the first I don't the first few weeks are kind of, it's hard to explain. It's like my therapist calls it a sobriety honeymoon, where I actually felt pretty great. Like, once I think the medication started working and I started sort of realizing what was happening, it felt everything felt brand new. Like, life kind of felt like like flavors tasted better. Leaves looked more vibrant. Like, the air felt more crisp. I felt like, wow, like, why have I been waiting for this my whole life? Like, this is amazing. Um, Everything felt great initially. So, that was kind of my experience with it, right away. Yeah.
So what was there any family support? Like did you tell anybody in your I mean, obviously your husband was supportive, right? He wanted you to
Usually.
get sober. Parents, siblings.
Um, I told my mom first, and I was terrified. I don't know why. I was so scared to tell her. Like, I texted her and said, "I have to tell you something really important, and I need you to not judge me." And, I think she was afraid I had cancer or something. But I don't know why I was so scared to tell her. It was terrifying to me. And once I finally told her, it was like, a ton of bricks just lifted off me. And she was so proud of me. And it's like, when you're a drunk, I think a lot of people feel like, once you tell everybody, once you admit you're an alcoholic, they'll be shocked. No one is shocked. I mean, everyone knew I had a problem. It was obvious. But I thought, oh my God, people are going to be blown away. Everyone's like, good for you.
Good when they do that because like for me, I had one group of friends that don't drink very much and I didn't
Mhm.
really drink that much around them. So when I told them they were all like, "What? Why? We've never really seen you drunk."
Oh,
And then that
really?
was bad because there was a part of my brain that was like, "You know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe I wasn't that bad." And then but then I told them what happened and why I was quitting drinking and they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah. That makes sense."
Yeah. Well, my friends, and I think it's easy to keep drinking sometimes too, depending on who you surround yourself with, because the people I surrounded myself with, it was so easy to say, well, I'm not as bad as she is, or I haven't had 12 DUIs. And
Yeah.
it's like, some of my friends, when I said I was quitting, it made them really uncomfortable. I think because it forced them to examine themselves. And they were kind of like, what are you talking about? You don't have a problem. And no, I
'Cause they're
do.
like, "If you have a problem, then what do I?" Then
Yeah.
that attitude. "If you think
Mhm.
you have a problem, then I must have a worse problem, and I don't have a problem, so neither of us have a problem. Case
Yeah.
closed." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, I'm still getting sober, so I don't know what to tell you."
Yeah. And you learn real fast too who your friends are when you get sober. And you learn who were just sort of drinking buddies. And I learned I didn't have very many real friends at all. They were mostly drinking buddies.
Okay,
So,
so you didn't go to rehab, you're feeling good for, like, a few weeks, and then what?
yeah. Um, I mean, that sobriety honeymoon lasted, I would say, a few months. Um, I started teaching myself like how to play the guitar, and just started engaging in all these new hobbies, started working out. Uh, I was like this brand new person. But then it just sort of hits where reality sets in, and the honeymoon's over, and you're dealing with day to day life, and you're sober, and you start to, like, I don't know. Like, for me, I've met a lot of people who are sober, especially in AA, who sometimes make me feel like I'm doing it wrong. Because they'll act like, well, you know what? I've never wanted to drink since I got sober. Like, I've just never, and that's not true for me. Like, I do want to drink sometimes still. And sometimes I think, am I not doing it right? Is this not how I should feel? But, that reality had set in for me where I was missing it and I was struggling with finding ways to compensate for the lack of alcohol. Um, but that's why I really started writing. I mean, I've always been a writer, but I kind of had abandoned it for a while. And I started writing again for some different newspapers. And I lived at this time in a town of like 500 people. I mean, there wasn't even a stoplight. It was just cornfields. And um, the newspaper in the area was more, like what's the new soda at the IGA and stuff like that. And I knew I had this platform and I wanted to write about things that I thought were meaningful and important to me. So, I wanted to write about my bipolar disorder. And my mom was like, if you do that, you're going to, these moms aren't going to let their kids play with your kids anymore and all this stuff. And I was
Hold
like,
on, we skipped over you getting diagnosed with bipolar. I'd never heard about any of your symptoms.
okay,
Go
that
back.
happened. That happened while I was still drinking,
Okay.
actually. Um, I had been teaching at a college and I had always known there was something off with me. I had always felt things. I feel like more intensely than maybe a normal person should, and experience things like depression and mania at a very young age, but I didn't know what they were. But it started really becoming evident and like affecting my life. And so I went to a psychiatrist and wrote down all my symptoms. And so then I got diagnosed with bipolar. And also was
How
having
old were you?
um 33 maybe around there.
Okay.
And also generalized anxiety disorder at the same time. So um I was still drinking though. So I got put on medication, but it wasn't doing any good because I was still drinking. So it really actually probably made my symptoms worse. Um but then once I got sober and took the medication correctly and um
How much longer after you got diagnosed with bipolar, how long did it take you to quit drinking after that? And was that a factor in quitting drinking?
um let's see. It was just maybe 3 or 4 years, I think, after I got diagnosed when I quit drinking. It wasn't a factor. I drank to self-medicate, really, and so it should have been a factor because my hangovers, I mean, when I was hungover, I was suicidal. I was on the floor in the fetal position, crying. It was, I mean, uh, the worst. I can't even describe, like, the hangovers were so, so awful, but I felt so good when I was drunk that I just, I just kept doing it. So I was definitely self-medicating. Um, so that wasn't a factor in quitting, but then when I finally did quit, um, that's when I could really see things start to sort of smoothen out a little bit with as far as like the mood swings, and I wasn't having those suicidal hangovers anymore. So that's when I decided to start writing about that experience. And that really became my like writing is still today my best therapy, I would say. But when I did write about that, I wrote about being bipolar. My mom was right. These moms started just basically shunning me, stopped inviting me to, their purse bingo and their boss babe MLM parties. So it's really broken up about that.
Wow, in a town of 500, I'm wondering the percentage of boss babes. It's got to be kind of high. But
It's like
like
95% boss babe.
you got to run out of people to sell your shit to though.
It was
How many people are there available to buy your Pampered Chef stuff, or your
exactly.
leggings? I mean, come on, everybody's probably going to the grocery store. They're already all wearing the Lululemons or the
Oh, I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lululemon, not Lululemon.
Yeah,
Too-
I know what you meant.
By the way, that's too close, isn't it? Like Lululemon is very close to Lululemon. Lululemon's got to be pissed about the Lululemon. But anyway, okay, go on. So these people
Um,
are shunning you.
yeah. I got called crazy, drunk mom, um, all kinds of stuff. At this point, I
It's amazing
had
how people come out of the woodwork to judge, like to call you drunk. I'm just saying, like when I was interviewed for the New York Times about being sober, that's when people were like, "Oh my God, like she's a drunk and she's a mom, like she should have her kids taken away." And it's like, well, where were you saying that when I was drinking my wine? Like, I'm sober now, bitch. Ease
yeah.
off.
And when
I'm
they were
making good
calling me
choices.
crazy drunk mom, I had already published my memoir um about getting sober. So, you know,
Yeah,
I don't miss the boss babes,
no.
but yeah. So once I started writing about it though, so I started out with that real small town newspaper. That's when all the doors started opening. I mean, once I got transparent and honest, and I'm so glad I took that step because I was nervous because nobody in that area especially wrote about stuff like that. Nobody talked about that. Um, but that's when really, one thing led to another. I got more writing opportunities. I wrote an article for the Chicago Sun-Times, um, published my memoir, um, had an article in Recovery magazine, just really started to come into what I think became my passion, what I wanted to do, and which was just initially to use my platform for something I thought was important. So, it was scary, and it was scary to do this. It was scary to say, yes, I want to do this podcast because that's scary. But at the same time, I like to do things that scare me and that get me out of my comfort zone. And doors don't open if you stay in your comfort zone.
And it helps people.
And that's, yeah, ultimately what I want to do. I've always known I wanted to help people somehow. I didn't necessarily always know how, but now I think it's just using my experiences,
I'm
to help.
sure well, I'm not sure, but I am imagining that even though some people are calling you a crazy drunk, you're affecting at least a few that are starting to question their own drinking and know that they could talk to you. Did anybody say like, actually, I'm struggling too?
Oh, yeah. I started to get all kinds of messages from people um, that I didn't know, especially through my book. I would get messages from people like from other countries talking about how it helped them. And um, that's really when I I realized I did something right. Like this was the right choice to put myself out there. Like I wouldn't have any of this. I wouldn't have this life I have right now if I had been too scared to be myself and admit my problems and my struggles. And people, I don't see a lot of people um walking around talking about infidelity and how guess what? Guess what I did. And that's something uncomfortable. People don't like to talk about that and don't want to admit that, but it happens. And I think the more we talk about it and help each other, we realize maybe why it happens and we can get through these issues together. And we're human. We're just all human.
I mean, just so you know, I have no names, obviously, but I've talked to a lot of women there was a lot of infidelity on their part. It's not just, it's common. And especially when alcohol's involved, drugs and alcohol, all bets are off. You lose your boundaries and, you know, you're not the only one, is what I'm trying to say.
That's good. Because is probably what I'm most ashamed of. I mean, I've made a lot of bad decisions, but no, I don't feel like that's ever justified. I don't feel like any time I did that, it was ever justified. I don't think there's ever an excuse for it. But I did it. And um, every mistake I've made, I feel like I'm working every day to correct it and be better from it. So,
So you also struggled with pain pills. Is that right?
um, no, I was taking anxiety medication
Oh, okay.
for anxiety.
Same.
which I don't take it anymore. But are you referring to the DUI?
No, we can get to that. I just thought I read that about your book.
Um, I did steal a bottle of my dad's Vicodin one time, but I wasn't. I'm not gonna lie, but I wasn't. That was the only time I did that. I wasn't like on pain pills for a long period of time,
Got it. I
but
always
I did
found
do
that
that.
if I got a bottle of pain pills, from the dentist, if I had something happen or if I had pills for like breakthrough migraine pain, oh my God, it was like potato chips for some people. It was like Pringles. Like if I had a bottle and I have a few times of 100 Vicodin, people freak out when I tell them this, but it would be gone in like 5 days.
No,
Like,
I
I
get
would
it.
just keep taking them because I'd be like, I got to get this feeling back. It feels so good that I want it back. And then I would just be so happy when it was all gone because it's that thing. It's like anything when you're eating cookies and you're like, well, I just got to finish the whole bag so that they're out of,
Hmm.
they're not tempting me anymore, you know?
I totally get that. I mean, I love Vicodin. Like, I do. I know my weaknesses, and they're pretty much anything that feels good. I feel like
I
I get addicted to. So
I don't understand people that can. I know so many people that are like, "Oh, I can't take pain pills. They just make me tired." I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's the least of the fun things they do, but yeah, being tired is
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Who
Like
doesn't like to be a little tired?"
my dad didn't take. He's like, I don't take those. What? Like, I don't know where I got this. I did not get this from my parents at all.
Same.
So,
Well, my biological father did like him pain pills, but not alcohol.
mhm.
Nobody in my family was a drinker. I'm the only one. But yeah, but also I was going to say earlier that the thing that I missed the most when I got sober was my Xanax because I could leave everything else behind, but I was like the Xanax is the one thing that's made me feel the most like myself. Like,
Mhm.
oh my God, it takes the edge off and I just go, "Oh, this is like how people feel all the time." And in my mind it didn't make me high,
Mhm.
except for the fact that I did like to sometimes take 2 instead of 1 or 3
Mhm.
instead of, so that's where okay, you kind of using this addictively. And I got dependent, I have an addictive personality. So the second I started taking it, I could be a week in and I was dependent on it. Like if I stopped taking it, I got a withdrawal. The first time that
Mhm.
happened to me, I was very shocked. But then I was like, well, the answer to that is just don't go off of it. Just use it a small dose. But in my mind, I was like, this is going to be permanent. I'm just going to be on Xanax for the rest of my life. I love it. I love how I feel on it. And I function totally fine. And then I got sober and felt like the bad news is that it's another thing that I crave and that, you know what I mean?
It's hard. I don't get how people can just be okay and not crave. Like, I have friends who they just get me, and they're like, "Sarah, you're just always gonna be chasing a high." I just feel like that's you're just always gonna be chasing a high, and it's true, and I don't wanna be like that, you know? But I just don't get people who aren't, who don't feel that way.
It must be more harder with bipolar disorder as well because I'm sure you're medicated for that and have to
Mhm.
keep an eye on your moods and how stable you feel. I mean, have you had relapses of the bipolar of mania?
Um, yeah, I was, hospitalized a few years back. I have terrible insomnia too, and that goes along with the mania. It kind of goes together. But I stayed awake for 5 days, um, and I went into psychosis, and I just actively wanted to kill myself. I was in the front yard screaming about it. It's kind of like a blackout state, so I don't totally remember, but Andy was telling me afterward. So I was in a psych hospital for a while then. um, I get manic sometimes, but usually it's depression is what I struggle with the most. Um, I don't deal with a lot of mania at all, but I do get depressed often.
And then how do you deal with that?
Well, the biggest thing is I just try not to be too hard on myself, um, because my first instinct is just to be like, you suck, just get up and do it, just do the thing, just be productive, and that doesn't help you through these episodes. You have to really focus on self-care and the bare minimum, like just functioning. I've had weeks where I've been in bed, unable to function, um, unable to do much of anything at all, but just survive. And sometimes that's the bar. It's just surviving. You just have to focus on that because a lot of people don't. I mean, people don't survive this every day. So sometimes you just have to love yourself through it and, not hate yourself for it. It's even though your brain, like my brain wants to tell myself, it's my fault. It's not, I didn't like I'll be crying sometimes, and apologizing to my family for it. And I'm sorry I'm like this. I'm sorry. And, one time Eleanor was like, Mom, it's not your fault. And it's not, but our brains want to blame us for it.
Yeah, it's all we're all different and we all have different struggles, and just because you're sober doesn't mean that the struggle goes away. Um and in keeping with that, do you want to tell us like what happened recently?
Yes. So last June, I had just started a new job. Um, I had been taking anxiety medication, and my medication dosage got upped the day before. And I went to work, and at one point on my break, I took my medication, but I had grabbed the wrong bottle. I had been taking the bottle that it was the lower dose, and that was what was in my purse. And I somehow took the other bottle. So I took too much of it. And I felt okay when I left, but I left work and I ended up falling asleep at the wheel and crashing into a guardrail.
Oh gosh.
Um, and I got a DUI. Um, so I mean, the alcohol was zero. It was zero level alcohol, but because of I was impaired, I got a DUI. So I had to go to jail. Um, I had to go to a 12-hour DUI class, a victim impact panel. I have a probation officer who I see once a month, and I get drug tested. I can't
Why
drive for a year.
why all that with when it was like, wasn't it a first offense?
Yeah. It's the state of Tennessee. I don't know why. I think, like, I mean, I see both sides of it. I see that it would be the worst thing in the world if your kid were killed by an impaired driver. And so I see how they want to deter that. But also, I think each case should be examined a little more individually. I don't know, um, my accidentally taking too much medication, I didn't hurt anybody else. Isn't a guardrail? Isn't that what it's for anyway?
Yeah, guarding.
Um, yeah, like, isn't that I just used it. I feel like, what did I get out of going to jail? I mean, to be honest, I'm actually thankful for the experience now because I always used to joke, like, about going to jail and it would give me some street cred. I never thought it would actually happen, and I always used to say, I would smile in a mugshot because nobody smiles. Why not? There's a photographer there. But I did not smile.
I saw your
Um,
mugshot because you told me it was out there, so I looked and you were not smiling. Yeah.
no, I
You did
actually have
not look
2.
happy.
I have 2 because I got one when I first got the DUI and then another one when I had to report for jail. And that was one thing I apologized to my kids for. I'm like, and Adele's like, I think it's badass, Mom. I'm like, well, that's not the attitude I want either. Like, we don't want, to think it's badass. But, um, I mean, I try to look at every experience I've been through as, like, especially for a writer, no experience, good or bad, is ever wasted when you're a writer. You can write about it. So, I mean, I wrote about going to jail and it got the most views of anything I've ever written. Um,
Really? Would you,
yeah,
was it a blog or did you write an article about it?
I just put it on Facebook,
Okay.
um, with my mugshot. And so I don't know. I'm not ashamed. I've made a lot of bad decisions, but I'm not ashamed of my life in general. I feel like we've all gone through shit, and why not take control of the narrative yourself and talk about it? And I made friends in jail. Um, it was a horrible place. It's horrible. But I
Did you
mean,
get a tattoo?
no, damn it. Like maybe if
You
I go back.
forgot.
But I met actually wonderful people in there. I think people look at sometimes inmates as just sort of throwaways of society, and they're not. Like they've been through some shit. I mean, I talked to people I never would have talked to, and I tried to make the best of it. That's all I could really do. So it was an experience that I don't know if I want to use the word grateful, but it made me feel grateful for my life. And you take a lot of shit for granted that when you're in jail, you realize I didn't know I took that for granted. And a lot of stuff you take for
Yeah.
granted.
Peeing in private.
Yes, that was one of them.
Luxury. Yeah. Well, I think that it's great that you're talking about it. I think that, I think more people have been through this stuff ever since I got sober and just started talking about it. I didn't realize, I don't know. I'm like you, I'm very unfiltered. I didn't know that we're supposed to not talk about how we feel about stuff, which is how I got a book deal when I had a baby, because I wasn't aware that this shit is hard was a big secret. So everything that I've gone through, I don't know, I'm an oversharer. So, I
Hmm.
like wrote an article about like, oh my God, everybody lied to me about this having a baby thing. It's really crazy hard. And that was before people were before the bad mommy zeitgeist, right? I started
Hmm.
talking about that. So when I got sober, I didn't treat it any differently. I was like, well, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were supposed to be not talking about our problems and not talking about how hard everything is. And, getting sober was a huge change for me and it was really hard. And yeah, people judge, but I think in the end, it helps more people. And the judgers can like suck it.
I agree. I mean, I wouldn't be talking to you right now had you not been an oversharer, because I discovered you through your writing and then reached out to you. And none of this would have happened had you just kept it to yourself and, struggled as a mom and not put yourself out there. I mean, nothing would have happened in any of our lives had we just kept it to ourselves. I mean,
And
what good is that doing?
when I sat down to write Drunkish, and I'm sure you had the same experience writing your story, writing My Last Rock Bottom. When I wrote Drunkish, there were a lot of decisions I made along like, oh, do I want to share this? Like, well, this is bad. This is embarrassing. All the private moments, all the thoughts I had. And in the end, I was like, I'm going to share every single thing that's in my mind. There are things I've shared at meetings. There's things I've shared with just one-on-one with other sober women. And in the end, I was like, it's all should be fodder for somebody that's struggling. If it helps one person feel, even if it's humiliating to me, if it helps one person go, oh God, I felt that way. And you know what? I cannot tell you how many emails I've gotten, how many Facebook messages from people that are like, that thing you said about whatever, about being a teenager and you know, I don't know, sex and that was speaking to me. Things that I thought I was the only person who's ever felt that way. So anybody who thinks also that getting sober, it's just like a straight path and you quit drinking and then the rest of your life is like fantastic. No, we go through problems and things happen, and that doesn't make us any less sober, or
Mhm.
any less on the right path. So I'm glad you were sharing the whole story.
Yeah. And I think I was a little naive getting sober too, in thinking that, all of these bad decisions I've made are because of alcohol. And now I'm going to be this great person. Yeah. I still make fucking wildly terrible decisions sober. Um, and I'm realizing maybe it's partly me. It's not just the alcohol, but I'm sober now to recognize it. And, I think we're all a work in progress all the time, every day. And some of us are just more readily, admitting it. And I mean, the more I admit to things, like I'll meet other moms. I have so many awesome mom friends now, compared to where I moved here from. And when I first meet them, I'm a little guarded. Like, they just seem so normal. But then once I start opening up, it's like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm not alone. People respond to being real and um, open to being flawed. And, we're all just struggling all the time. So I feel like we're just here. We're put on this earth to help each other through it. Why else are we here?
Completely agree. What a great conversation. So you were telling me before we started recording that your book isn't available right now, but you have a page. Can you tell everybody where to find you?
Yes, I'm on Facebook under Sara Christine Berelsman. It's Sarah with no H and Christine CH. And then
Okay,
Berelsman, you'll write it out.
I will write it out and I will put it in the description of this episode. And then you can tell people
Awesome.
when your book is available again
Okay.
to purchase. Do you have a Substack or anything else you want to promote? Or you just
I
put it
don't
all on the
even,
Facebook?
yeah, it's just right now, it's just all there.
Is it a page or is that your personal account?
It's just my personal page.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here and for sharing your story. It was so lovely to talk to you. And I will send everybody your way.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Life is good, yeah. Life is good.